All right, buddy. Welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Rocco. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I have to say I love that shirt. That looks so awesome.
I have an embarrassingly large Looney Tunes clothing collection, I must say. There's actually a good story about one of my Looney Tunes shirts in relation to this film.
Oh
Would
wait,
you like to hear
really?
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I have, like I said, I have like an embarrassingly large Looney Tunes clothing collection. I always like to go thrifting, and it was like too hard to pick between all the cool stuff. So I gave myself a lens, and over the years that has like developed into like a kind of a stupid hobby. But so I have this audition was for like obviously quite a stoner-tastic character, and I have this one
Yeah.
Looney Tunes shirt that is like Bugs and Taz with like dreadlocks in like Rasta clothes and like Birkenstocks. It's hilarious. And so I was like, oh, I got the perfect stoner shirt for this stoner audition. And it turns out the director, that shirt was in like an SNL skit back in like the 90s or something. And the director is like a big fan of that skit. And him and all his director friends wear that shirt when they go like drinking and stuff. So as soon as he saw me wearing
No.
that shirt in the tape, he's like, book that guy. So I don't even know if the audition was good, but the shirt's what got me the role 100%. That's what I was told. So Looney Tunes are always there for me. I always keep them close. I always keep them close.
Wow, that is a very interesting story. I like that.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
And I guess the first question I want to ask you is what drew you to want to act? Like, when did your passion start for acting?
Oh man, like it's like the cliche, but I've been acting my whole life, you know? Like I was in like the chorus of Annie when I was in like first grade. So
Oh, wow.
it's been happening forever. My older brother what like did all like the school plays and stuff. So I saw him do it. You know, as a kid, you're always like, I want to do what like my older brother's doing stuff. And yeah, all through like public school. I'm from like a really small town. So there's not a lot of like arts. It's more about like hockey and trucks than it is about like arts and that sort of thing. So there wasn't necessarily like a ton of like theater and acting and that sort of thing, but I found it where I could and like always enjoyed performing. I was always like the class clown kid too. Obviously, just like a narcissist who just needed the attention, I guess, you know. um, but so yeah, all through public school, I did like every little play I could. In high school, I took drama throughout, but again, like a very small town, so there wasn't like a large theater program. But we always did like kind of like competitive like improv at our high school, so that was always a lot of fun doing that sort of thing and competing with that. And then I made the silly move of getting a fine arts degree in acting and doing that in my post secondary, which was a ton of fun. And then got an agent and have been doing it ever since. Yeah.
That's so awesome. And you say you've done a lot of plays. Was there any play that you did it that you had the most fun doing?
There's like a few that have been great for sure. In the first year of my university, we did like a production of I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's called the Harry Potter musical. It's by like Star
No.
Child. They do some really cool like kind of like weird satirical theater. So it's basically like a satirization of all the Harry Potter books. And I played Voldemort in that,
Um,
and it was a musical. So that was a role to remember forever. I was like a lot of fun, a lot of fun. A couple of summers ago, I did a Shakespeare festival and got to play Orlando and As You Like It, which is like a great role in a great Shakespeare show. So that was a good one.
nice, nice. And when you wanted to do like film and television, I saw like you started out doing like a couple short films. So what was like the first role you ever had for film or television?
Yeah, that would have been like guys I went to university with. I was in like the theater fine arts program. They were in the film program. And then in their
Okay.
final years, and then a few years after, we started like collaborating and doing stuff together. So yeah, I guess like Honey, I'm Home is like my first credit on IMDb, which is me in
Yeah.
a relationship with my house. Just and I had like no acting partners, nothing, just talking to thin air. So it's actually quite an acting challenge for like a young actor new to TV and film. But yeah, I mean, I've always been hungry, so I'm always been willing to like do what I could, and yeah, just eating up what I can get.
All right, okay. And now like you have this brand new horror film that's out, and I
Yeah.
recently watched it, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to reach out because I loved the the character you played on the show. I mean,
Oh,
on the
thanks,
movie,
man.
and it was like really well made. Like it was a really good horror film because I'm a huge horror guy, a horror fan.
Yeah.
So I guess the question I want to ask is, how did you find out about the film and get cast for the role you got cast? Well, I mean, I know
Yeah,
how you got cast. But how did you find
yeah.
out
Well, yeah.
about
You now you know the story. You know why I got cast. You know why I got cast. Only for a
the
T-shirt. Nothing to do with the acting. Nothing to do with it. No, I'm just joshing. But yeah. I mean, it just came. It just came like all auditions do. Like I have an agent in Toronto and in Vancouver, so this one came from my Vancouver agent because they shot mostly here, and so I got the breakdown and. I was like, oh, yet another stoner audition. Believe it or not, that's my typecast. Whether it's like an
Are
unhoused
you
or a
serious?
stoner or just like a drug dealer, just an overall piece of shit. That's basically what I'm always auditioning for. So, I mean, if the shoe fits. So I was like, oh, here we go, another stoner. But I know I was really, it was like a really fun audition. I auditioned with the squirrel scene as well as a couple other scenes, but the squirrel scene was a big part of the audition, which is that is my piece de resistance. That is my everything. That squirrel scene. Um, so I auditioned with that, and I'm a big fan of like it's always fun to get to play like an archetype, right? And having like the seven deadly sins. So I was like, I got the audition, I did my best to absolutely kill it. Um, I guess I did. No callback, got cast, and then like 4 days later, I was on set. It was like a super fast process. This whole process
Oh
was
my
like
God.
a whirlwind. So yeah, I just the breakdown came in from the agent, did my best, and got the gig.
Damn, okay. And the horror film is all my friends are dead, and it's like I said, it's a great horror film, especially we're in Halloween season, so it's a perfect time to watch
Yeah,
it. And
exactly.
when when you're first reading the script for him, like stoner guy, like when you're reading the script, what are your first thoughts? Like, were you thinking like, oh my god, I had to do another stoner character again?
I love my typecast. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm never mad about it. It's always like one of the fan favorite characters, and it's always like kind of a fun character to play. Like, I guess the trap is not to like be a cliche. Like that is like the hard thing. Like you don't just want to be like that classic stoner dude. You want to give them like a little bit of depth and a little bit of life that isn't just this like kind of stock character. So you got to make sure that's happening. Like when reading the script, you're like, okay, don't just be the classic, but with this being like each one of us, each one of the characters represents one of the seven deadly sins and is then like killed in relation to their sin. So that adds like a whole wrinkle to it too. And I love that my character was gluttony, but he never ate food. Like I don't eat food in the entire movie, but I consume like a ton of substances. So like I thought that was like a fun kind of modern take on the glutton character. So I thought that in and of itself
True.
kind of subverted like the archetype. So that gave me like a little more room to play with, that I wasn't just like eating chips and smoking weed and like and I felt like, yeah, I felt like they gave the character like I had a little room to play, you know. And yeah, I just tried to make him as much of like a funny, silly, because he really is kind of like the goofball
Oh
maverick
yeah,
on the
yeah,
outskirts, kind of like silly
yeah, of
character of the
course.
group. But I wanted
Yeah,
to like make him somewhat authentic, and like give him like a bit of a background. So that's when your like work as an actor comes in. You write, you don't see it on the screen, but you write all this stuff that's like, oh, he's actually this, and I had that he was like, they're all university friends. Like he's going to university for horticulture. He's going to become like the greatest like botanist, weed grower of all time. And I built him to be a character who was actually like quite smart, who chose to act like a big dumbass because it was just more fun, and tried to build this whole backstory and kind of make a three-dimensional human being and not just be a stoner.
that makes a lot of sense. And spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it, your death scene is brutal. Like
Yeah,
how is that filmed? Like how is the death scene
yeah.
filmed?
It was a lot. I mean, it's called All My Friends Are Dead. It's not much of a spoiler. It's a slasher. We know what's gonna happen. But I mean, man, it was tough. Like we had to reshoot that 3 times. So because like
Really?
to get we really the practical effect, it took us some time to like get it right. We tried it a bunch of different ways. So it was a tough few days, man. Like the first day I did it, I was like into it and I'm like ready to rock. I'm like, let's go. Strap me down to that like metal chair that I'm in. And I was in that chair for like 6 hours, no breaks. And
Ooh.
like they offered me a break, but I was like, by your 2 hours in, and you're like, do you want to like spend an hour to get out of this to then take a 30-minute break to spend another hour to get into this, to then
Yeah.
do another two, then take another break. I was like, let's just go. Let's just go. And I was making a joke. I'm like, this is my Revenant. I'm method acting. I can do this. Like I was trying to like use it as much as I could, you know. But it was certainly difficult. And by like, you know, hour 4, 5, 6, like it's your acting job becomes a lot easier. You're like, get me the hell out of this chair. I don't want to be strapped to this thing anymore. And your legs start to hurt and your arm starts to hurt. And you're like, all right, I've had
Oh
about
my
enough of
God.
this. But yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of like you got to take care of the voice too, with like the like, you know, he's obviously intense and loud and freaking out. And I have the mask on my face with all this like
I
gas
know.
pumping into me. So there's the dialogue where you're basically like getting constantly the giantest hip. It's like constantly hitting a vape while trying to act. It's just like a constant vape blowing in your face, trying to act strapped to a chair. And then by the third time we shot it, I had like a whole prosthetic stomach that like expanded, and like there was like probably like 8 explosives on the like squibs, but it sounds cooler when you say a squib. It's like everyone's like, okay, a squib, but when you say explosives, people are like, whoa, man. So I had like 8
It
explosives
is.
strapped to me, and like it was a little nerve-wracking. It was my first time being squibbed, and I never really done anything like that. So like having like strapped to a chair, prosthetic, explosives, mask on, gas in your face, acting, it was a lot, man. It was a lot, but it was fun, and I feel like after that, I'm like, I can do anything. It's all easy now. it's all easy now. So it was a lot, to say the least, but a really cool experience. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, what do you think was the best kill of the movie? You think it was your death,
I don't
or did you
know.
think
I
another
thought
one?
I feel like at the beginning the deaths are more like controlled in terms of the storyline. As
Hmm.
the story gets to go, right? It becomes a little more like crazy and wild, and the pace picks up, and it builds and it builds and it builds. Lust's death is pretty good. And
Yeah,
that
it
was
is.
like a rewrite later on that like they chose
Oh,
to go with. I don't
really?
want to spoil it, but they, you know, the prop that I'm talking about, that legendary prop
Yes.
that comes out and kills him, and I
Yes.
just, that absolutely killed me. So I think like in terms of a prop, that was so good. Ali's death, like who gets like boiled in oil, like that
Oh
was
my
that was a
God,
lot. And like
yes.
so I felt like my death and her death were the most kind of controlled and the most almost in like relation to the sin, you know?
Hmm.
So because of that, they
Hmm.
kind of had the most kind of like effects and stuff involved with them. So it's easy to pick those two. But I guess I gotta go biased with my own. I went through a lot to get that footage. So
Yes. And was there any scene that you had the most fun shooting? I mean, I'm sure being strapped to a chair wasn't fun. So is there any other
I mean,
scene you had the most fun?
it's as much as it's scary and nerve wracking and like physically and emotionally difficult, like having a prosthetic and explosives and like all this stuff
True.
around you is pretty cool. Like I like couldn't tell you the number of times because you had to reach that 3 times. I was like covered head to toe in blood, like head to
Oh
toe in
my
blood by the end of the take. Like everything just wrecked. We had through so many costumes. And by like the third reshoot, they're like, we don't have any more clothes. Like, so like it was at the end of the day when you get out of the chair and you're like baby wiping yourself off head to toe to get like all this blood off you so you can get in your car and drive home to then shower it all off again. Like it's a pretty funny job. You're like, what is my job? What life choices have I made to get here? It's kind of awesome. So when you view it like that, that's hilarious. Oh, I stand by that. That's why you became an actor, was to do stupid shit like that, right? Um, and then, but I mean, my squirrel scene is gold. You know, I
It
love
is.
that
It is.
scene.
That's a
It,
good scene. Yeah.
it was a lot of fun, and that whole scene, you know, when I'm outside and like kind of tripping and going on my little journey, my little like drug walk, and so like obviously that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun, and the squirrel ended up being a puppet, but at first it was supposed to be like a big person in like a squirrel like
Oh,
outfit,
really?
and it didn't arrive in time. So they had to like ship it from somewhere, and it arrived like the day after we shot the squirrel scene. So the puppet ended up being like a last minute choice, but then like the effects guys like rigged it to smoke, and like it was like it was perfect. It was like better than like I think it worked better than like the whole suit would have. So like yeah, it was just me acting towards a puppet, which was hilarious. And yeah, we're just smoking a doobie together, hanging out. Like, how could that not be my favorite scene? You know?
That's true. Yes. And so where did you wind up filming at? Like the area seemed like
I
it had
shot
like a lot of woods.
Yeah, so we're in. So it was like 95% shot in Vancouver. They did a couple days down in LA, and
Oh,
that's where
okay.
JoJo shot. JoJo didn't make it out to Vancouver. She's a busy woman with lots going on, right? So
Well,
and
yeah,
she
she
ended up
is.
just
Yeah.
doing LA. Yeah, so obviously we get that. So I was only in Vancouver. A lot of us, most of the guys in it, like Julian, Justin, and Cardi and myself were all like Vancouver locals, and then all the girls
Oh,
came from like New York and LA. So we were all Vancouver guys. It was shot here in Vancouver, in just outside Vancouver, in one of the suburbs called Burnaby. We had like this really amazing house that they rented for it, which had like a great yard, and that was like the Airbnb that we went to. So that's where like 90% of the movie takes
nice.
place. So it
Well,
was
yeah,
mostly at this one
that.
location at this house. Yeah, but Vancouver, I don't know if you know Vancouver at all. It's Pacific Northwest, so similar to like Oregon or like Seattle. It's got a lot of like beautiful like nature and outdoors, and
Oh,
it's quite a like lovely nature place. Like Vancouver's like right in the middle of the mountains on the ocean. It's a beautiful city, so there's lots of like nature and that sort of thing.
oh, nice. Okay. And the sad part about the movie is they never actually made it to the music fest. And
Never made it. No one saw a single thing. It's a shame.
I mean, they
It sounds
they
like it was a good
saw
party
an
too.
Airbnb.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is a shame. It is a shame. It would have been fun if someone got there at one point, but nah, no one made it. No one made it. So
I
close.
and that's what I was saying. I was like, someone has to at least show up at the music fest. I mean, come on now.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a sequel. Maybe someone will come
Yeah.
back just to get to that music festival.
And I was laughing at the scene with the two girls when she's sitting in the pool and pretending like she's in this real fancy dancy place, and then swimming in the ocean and swimming in here, and she's in the pool instead of like
In like a kiddie pool,
that
like a blow
little
up kiddie
little
pool. Yeah.
kiddie pool. Yes, yeah. She
Yeah.
definitely made it look like if she was in some big place.
Yeah. That's like, but I mean, I think that's one of like the cool aspects of the movie that it actually kind of has something to say is this idea of like there's a lot about the kind of like social media influencer kind of element, right? And how kind of artificial a lot of that is. Yeah, she was just like this like wannabe kind of influencer girl who's like faking all this stuff about her life. One of them being that they're at this fancy Airbnb with a pool, and she just brought a kiddie pool in her luggage so that she could fake all that, which is hilarious. That's like movie magic within the movie magic, you know?
I know, right?
Yeah.
And was there any like funny or cool um any funny or cool things that happened while you were on set?
I mean, like there seemed to be like nothing but funny and cool things happening on set. The process. The process was definitely like a ride and a lot of fun. And what was nice about it was that like we weren't like super behold like the script was there and the script was important, but like
Mhm.
Marcus, the director, was like definitely open to us playing and having fun with it and like discovering things in the moment. Like so a lot of like one of my favorite moments in the movie was just like something that Marcus thought of in the moment that applied to it that completely changed a ton. Like, do you know when after LB's death and she looks at his ID and has that moment and screams? Do you know the
Yes,
moment I'm talking about?
yes.
That was
Hmm.
just thought
Hmm.
up in the moment on set right there. And I thought that
Oh,
was
really?
so funny to make that kind of choice. And like it was such a good choice. And it like it adds such a layer to so much. And that was like
Oh, wow.
incredible to me
Okay.
that just came up in the moment and is one of my favorite like little aspects of the movie. I think it's so funny and such a fun little like twist in it. Um, yeah, it was so cool. Like we were all like because we were supposed to be this kind of ensemble and all like there's all the kind of like social media elements in the movie. Like we're all the pictures that they have of us in like the opening credits and kind of throughout the movie that they're throwing in from our socials and stuff. Like on the
Hmm.
weekends
Hmm.
in between like shooting, we would all go out. Like we would be like a lot of those
Oh,
photos that they
nice.
use are us like at like nightclubs or at like arcade bars or like after like going out for dinner, like all of us like actually dancing kind of as ourselves, but also as our characters. So that all happens like in the real world. We're just like out dancing at the club and we're taking photos of each other. And then they needed those photos to use for production. So a lot of that stuff just like came organically from us like goofing and having fun and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool.
Oh my God.
They
Oh
were able to
wow.
use all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty
Nice.
neat.
And when you are doing films, do you like doing during your free time?
Sorry, I missed you. You cut out for a second there. Could you say that again?
Oh, sorry. I said when you aren't doing films, what do you like doing during your free time?
I'd say like 99% just like collecting Looney Tunes clothing. No, no, I'm just kidding. um, yeah, man,
Hey,
like
it it looks good.
yeah, well, it's all about. You should see me when I'm wearing like a Looney Tunes hat, a Looney Tunes shirt, a Looney Tunes jacket, Looney Tunes pants, Looney Tunes shoes. It's a little much. It's a little much. Okay, it's a little much. Um, yeah, man. Like I love the arts in general. Like if I'm not acting, I love like seeing theater, seeing movies, engaging in art, kind of in all forms. I just went to this like wicked like jazz band that was playing. They're
Nice.
playing like the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack during the Cowboy Bebop movie. I'm a big anime fan, so it's like
Yeah,
awesome to
yeah.
see that. So yeah, just like engaging in that sort of thing. I mean, I live in a beautiful place where I can go surfing on the island, which I'm horrible at. It's
Wow.
mostly me just like trying not to drown, but I like to pretend I know what I'm doing. Um, skiing, snowboarding. I'm big into food and beverage. Like I love eating good food and drinking good drinks. So going to restaurants and sometimes I think like a better job than being an actor might be being a food reviewer. I don't know what's harder to do, what's more competitive, but it would be
Okay.
pretty fun to just travel the world eating and drinking. But I go to a lot of bars and restaurants and engage in food and that sort of thing, which I really enjoy. Ride my skateboard here and there, goof around, be an idiot, stuff like that. Yeah, man. It's a good life. I got a good life. I got no complaints. I went to a ton of concerts this year. I saw some hilarious
Nice.
ones. I saw Avril Lavigne this year. I saw
Oh my God.
Missy
Yeah.
Elliott and Busta Rhymes this year. I saw the Rolling
Really.
Stones. I saw the Bare Naked
Rolling
Ladies. I don't know if
Stone.
you know them. They're like
Yeah, yeah, of
a true
course.
piece of Canadiana. So I've seen some fun shows this year too. Some kind of underground hip hop stuff that I really like. Big into kind of like weird hip hop. I love Australian hip hop. It's like a weird genre. Like Australian hip hop from like
Nice.
circa 2010 is everything to me. Um, there's these underground hip hop guys from Chicago, the Palmer Squares. I really like. They were in Vancouver this year. I saw them. So yeah, engaging in art,
Wow.
engaging in food and beverage, trying to have some recreation and fun in my life. Vancouver's a beautiful beach city, so trying to get a tan. We get like four months of sun, so try to get as much of it in my life as I can. You know.
Oh, that sounds awesome. You've done some pretty fun things. That sounds awesome. I like that.
Yeah, I try to have a full life.
Yeah,
I have a lot of
exactly.
fun.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, what would you say is a food that you love to eat? Because you say you're like a big person
Yeah,
for
like
eating.
if I could talk about this for a long time, but like gun to my head, I'd probably say French cuisine is kind of my favorite cuisine. Like
Okay.
they are like it's called a chef. Chef's the French word. You when you're in a restaurant, it's called your mise en place. Like so much of what we know about restaurants in this day comes from like French cuisine. That's where everyone goes to study. Like so much of like everything comes from French food. So gun to my head, I would say French food is my favorite. I feel like there's way too many Italian restaurants. I'm not against Italian food, but I feel like they're just Italian everywhere. So everyone's into Italian, which is fine, which is fine. But so for me, maybe like a steak tartare would arguably be like my favorite food, like a good classic tartare. Or I really like a really
Oh,
good niçoise, which is like a beautiful like French type of French salad, which is really good. But I love it all, man. As long as it's good, I'll eat it. Like a perfect cheeseburger might be the greatest food of all time. It's like pretty hard to beat
oh
like a
yeah,
perfect
definitely,
cheeseburger. So
definitely.
yeah, as long as it's good, I'm messing with it. Let's go. There I am, the glutton. See, the sin fits.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
sin
yeah,
fits.
exactly. Yeah. And we are in Halloween season. And do you have
Ooh,
any good horror movies that you like to watch to get you ready for Halloween?
ooh, Halloween specifically. I'm not like the biggest horror guy. I mean, one of my favorite things to do around Halloween time is to watch like the Halloween episodes of like sitcoms and old animated shows I
Oh
watched.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
watching like the Halloween episode of like Jimmy Neutron or like Fairly Odd Parents or those like stupid cartoons I watched as a kid that still
Hmm.
love or like the Halloween episodes of like, I mean, obviously The Simpsons is like a classic with like the trios of horrors and everything. But so like I love watching those kind of like, or even like How I Met Your Mother, or like Always Sunny, or like those like sitcoms where they do like a Halloween episode here and there. Like I think those are fun things to throw on around Halloween time. And then yeah, I guess like Hocus Pocus and kind of like those kind of like classic ones like Beetlejuice. I just saw the new Beetlejuice. It was great. It was
It was
solid. I went to
really
see it
good.
at
I
the
liked it.
drive-in. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it stood up. I mean, the first one is you can't beat the first one,
Oh yeah, of
but
course.
those are the ones probably around like Halloween that I like look forward to the most. But arguably my favorite horror movie, if I had to pick one, I'm like I said, not a big horror guy. I grew up in like a really old spooky house, so I lived it. I don't
Um,
need to watch it. Yeah, a really old house in like a really small town. Don't want to sound like a weirdo, but it was as a kid, it freaked me out enough that I didn't need to watch horror movies. Um,
okay.
but I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, and I don't know if you've seen the movie
Oh
Tusk,
yeah, yeah.
but Tusk is like a wild, weird movie, and the whole way it was came to be with him like pitching it on like a on his podcast, and then having his fan base vote if he should actually make the movie, and then made this weird body mutilation horror that takes place in like middle of nowhere Canada. So I thought that comes to mind for me when it comes to horror, and then outside of that, like I'm always into like a good satire. So like Cabin in the Woods or like Dale and Tucker, those kind of movies always hit for me. And then I guess if I want to actually like get freaked out. Midsummer was probably one of the most like visceral
That was
viewing
good.
experiences of my entire life. I went to that movie on like a very early date, which was a huge mistake. We got like our popcorn and our drinks. We're like on a cute little cheeky date, and we sat down and like no one ate any popcorn or drank anything. Just sat there like utterly uncomfortable for like 3 hours, and then parted ways, and that was about it. so so Midsummer for me, like that movie effed me up. I was like not the same for days after that. That was one of the craziest and most visceral viewing experiences of my life. I'm excited to see Substance. I've heard really good things about Substance. That it's just like
I saw that. It's crazy.
you've
It
seen it.
is. It's a
Yeah,
crazy movie. Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard it's wild. So that's pretty high on my list right now. And going into Halloween, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. Yeah. How about you? What are your
Okay.
some of your top horrors?
I love classics. I love Chucky and the Jason films and Freddy Krueger and Halloween. You know, the Michael Myers films.
Yeah,
And yeah, like so like during Halloween season, I have to watch the Halloween films because that's like,
you
it's
must.
called Halloween.
Yeah, well, you should give me some recos because you're the horror guy here. So maybe I'll do that. I've seen a couple of them. I think I saw the newest one, but maybe I'll binge some for you. For you, I'll watch them.
Okay. But those are always like good fun films to watch during Halloween season. Is like just binge watch like all the Halloween films and but like I said, I'm also like a fan of like Chucky the Killer Doll, so I like watching
Yeah,
that and Freddy Krueger and Jason. And so yeah, like
nice.
those kind of movies. Yeah.
Heck yeah, yeah, those are great. Chucky freaked me out too much as a kid. I watched one as a kid and was like, yeah, like I said, I'm in this old creepy house and I'm a kid and I just saw Chucky. I
Yeah.
was like, this is too much for me. I can't handle this. So it's a self preservation thing. I just stayed away from horror. I just stayed away.
Okay. Well, do you have any Halloween plans? Like, are you going to any parties or dressing up or?
Nothing crazy planned. I usually try to like get a little bit into my costume. When I was younger, I had this big philosophy like you have to dress as something scary. You don't just get to be something cool or somebody you want to be. But I've let go of that big opinion of mine over the years. So I have this one like I have a default costume that I wear every year. I went to medieval times one time and they were selling like the knight's tunics at medieval
Yeah, yeah,
times,
yeah, yeah.
and so I bought one, and it's just like a really good quality. So with a couple belts and some boots and my hair, it's like a go-to. It's a go-to. So for most nights, I call myself a night out. I'm a night out on the town, and I just dress as a knight. Um, but yeah, I haven't thought too much about it this year. What I was thinking, I've always wanted to do like a Jim Morrison. He's one of my faves.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I've
Of
never, I've
course. Yeah.
never, I've never had the courage to go tight leather pants and no shirt. But one day I'll do it. One day I'll do it while I still have the hair. How about you? What do you
Definitely.
have anything planned for your Halloween costume?
I'm thinking of doing. There's a horror movie called Trick Trick or Treat. Just like for Halloween. That's actually the name of a horror movie, and there's a character from the horror movie named Sam, and they sell his costume in like all the Halloween stores, and I was thinking of being him because I've been everybody else. Like I've been Freddie and
Yeah,
Jason and Michael, and I think I'm gonna do Sam now.
yeah. Well, you got to keep it fresh, especially in your line of work, man. You don't want to get stale. You got to keep the people happy, you know?
True, you're
Nice,
right.
man.
Yeah.
Well, now you got me thinking. I usually put more thought into my Halloween costume than I have, but I haven't this year. So thank you. I needed this. I needed this. I got a really good. I got some like Looney Tunes like basketball jerseys. I could always just throw a pair of bunny ears on and go
Oh
as
yeah, of
Bugs Bunny from
course.
Space Jam. That's an easy one too.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the last thing I'll ask you is there anything coming up for you? Do you like to plug like anything you're working on or want to talk about?
No, nothing crazy. I did like a very small role in an NBC show called The Irrational, but it was only a couple lines, and I'm not even sure if I'll make the final cut. But if I
Oh
do, check out
no.
season 2 of The Irrational. But yeah, man. I mean, plugging away, we'll find something. But just still auditioning, looking for the next gig. But it'll happen soon enough. Gonna do an audition right after this, so I
Oh
gotta
wow,
turn
okay.
this camera off and then get all emotional and start crying. So I'm telling you, I'm having too much fun with you. How dare you? I'm never going to be able to succeed. It's all your fault.
I know. I'm so sorry. Like I
Yeah,
should
you
have
should
been
be.
I should have been meaner and said some things that would make people cry. I apologize.
You should have. You should have. But my final plug would just be like, yeah, see this movie. Check out All My Friends Are Dead. It's a good flick. It's a lot. It's a very fun like watch with your friends. Perfect for like
Definitely.
Halloween. Like it's a
Mhm.
great fun social movie. So yeah, I hope more people get to see it. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it definitely is a lot of fun. I liked it a lot, and like I said, like when I saw your death scene, I was like, oh my God, I was.
It was a good one. It was a good one.
It
Yeah, well,
was.
Marcus, the director, he's written like a bunch of the Saw movies, so he's obviously had some experience with some gore and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense now. Makes sense.
yeah.
And where can fans follow you at?
I've always been an anti-social media person, but to appease everyone in my life, I actually buckled and got Instagram a few months ago. So I guess you can follow me on Instagram. My very professional Instagram handle is Daddy Dope. My last name
Daddy Dope.
Daddi. Yeah, or you can just Jack Dope Smith. My name, you'll find me on there. There's not many people with the last name Dope Smith. So yeah, I mean that's about it. Working on building all that stuff, but yeah, that's my very professional Instagram handle. Yeah, you can find me there.
I I love it. It's different. That's all that
Yeah,
matters. Right?
hell yeah, hell yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I I hope you get the role for the thing that you're going to be doing after this.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun chatting with you.
Definitely, bud. Like anytime you want to come back on, get another role in something, I'm 100% down. It was fun.
Hell yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, you take care and be well.
Definitely. Thank you, buddy. You too.
Thanks, man. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Yes.
Take it easy.